Welcome to the Seven Figure Builder Show. My name is Julie Baranek, founder of Seven Figure Builder, where we help high-achieving CEOs connect with their dream clients to scale to seven figures and beyond. And I'm here today with my friend Stephanie Ritz. Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, Julie, how are you?
I am fabulous. I am not in the luxury location you are, but where in the world are you today?
I am currently in amazing Paris, which just blows my mind to even say out loud. But here I am. I've been here a few days and it is just absolutely incredible. Exactly what I envisioned in my mind.
Yeah, that is amazing. I have not yet been there, but I will. So maybe I'll meet you there someday. How about that?
I hope so, because I feel like there's a lot of mixed reviews on Paris, but the part that I am in really truly is just beautiful and magical, and I'm feeling it. Like I'm totally vibing off the energy right now. I'm so ecstatic to be here.
That's amazing. So do you live there? What are you doing in Paris? So share the goods with us.
Yeah, I am a full-time traveler, digital nomad. So I have been doing this for 2 years, traveling the world with my business. My first year as a digital nomad, I was still in my corporate job. So I started this lifestyle in the US and traveled around the US alongside my corporate job and building my business. And then when I was ready, I made the exit out of the 9 to 5, and I've been traveling internationally for about 18 months now, and it has been incredible. So I just arrived here in Paris a few days ago. Before that, I was in London. So I'm kind of on a European tour for this leg of my travels. So yeah, that's why I'm here. I'll be here for a month total.
Awesome. Awesome. So how did you get there? Meaning, tell us, what do you do with your business? Like, people are wanting to know.
Yeah. So I started a coaching and consulting business alongside my 9 to 5 during COVID. I think a lot of people kind of were in that frame of mind of like, wow, I'm in lockdown and a lot of introspection and what do I want from my life? And I had been an entrepreneur in my 20s. I had a really successful business as a single stay-at-home mom. And I was so young at that time. And so even though I got so much from the business and it allowed me to have all this time with my son, once he went back to school, I was like, I kind of want to go into corporate. Like I feel the pull to like have this like high-powered corporate gig. And I did. And I was really enjoying corporate. I spent 15 years in 2 different industries and had a lot of success. But then, my son left the nest. He's grown now. And, I was single and trying to figure out like, what does this stage of my life look like? And March 17th, 2020, I was about to take the trip of a lifetime, like the trip I never had the time, space, or money to take, 3 weeks in South Africa. And it was literally March 17th, 2020. I got all the way to JFK Airport and they said, go home because of the pandemic. And that was it. That like kind of triggered this desire to like reevaluate my values and freedom to travel. Now that I had the space to do it in my life, I was like, this is a priority for me. This is how I want to live. And I never thought about being a full-time traveler. I just wanted to travel more and not be stuck with like, I have 3 weeks of paid time off. Like, how am I going to utilize it? And it was kind of in the process of being in lockdown, meeting other travelers, getting this idea in my head, like, could I do this? Could I actually like leave my job and just travel the world? That kind of seems crazy. But then I thought more about it and I was like, I could, like, if I grew my business to a certain point, because if I'm going to do this, I don't want to be living in hostels and I don't want it to be van life. I have a more elevated travel style and I knew that that's what would make me happy, to travel in that way. So I really started like putting the pieces together financially and what would have to happen in my business for that to be my reality. And once I got focused on that goal, it was like tunnel vision. Like I am working toward this until I get there. And so that's kind of how I ended up here and how this all started. There's a lot of details in between, but that's the outline
That's
of how I got
amazing.
here.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And you touched on something that you did so much of this as a single mom. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I learned so much about business being a single mom in my 20s, and it was a whole different world back then because it was before digital marketing was a thing. Email was really big, but I literally would send postcards and mailers to people in snail mail to advertise my business, and it was a lot of word of mouth. But I learned so much about time management because at the time I was building my first business, I was in school full time. I had a part-time job and I was a single mom with no financial help or resources. So it was a lot riding on my business. And I lost my corporate job 6 months before graduating college. I planned to go right into corporate and I got laid off. The whole office closed. So I ended up taking my tiny little side hustle and turning it into a business. And I thought, oh, I'll get a corporate job once I graduate. Let me just finish this out. And I didn't need to. But I learned so much about like prioritizing time and spending intentional time with my son and stepping away from work. And even if the time was limited, because I had big goals for the two of us, I let go of the mom guilt. I really prioritized the time that I had with him and the time I had to focus on my business, removing those distractions, which again is different now than it was then because of social media. But I was able to kind of bring those skills into it. And my son ended up coming home during the pandemic. And so he was back home with me and trying to figure out his life, which had been turned upside down. He had just started college and everything went haywire. So I was traveling for my job. I had a regional job all across New England, building my business and, taking care of my son. And it was like a really strenuous, I think, mental health time for everyone too. And so I actually became a mindset coach to support the business strategy because I knew from my first business how important that was going to be, not only for myself, but for my clients who were going through all the same challenges and struggles that I had gone through. So that was a really big piece, I think. I think it was like the piece to my business that was really necessary for me to grow, is incorporating so much of the mindset support and prioritizing time, but also creating boundaries around your 9 to 5. People who are aspiring to be like your listeners who are like 6-7 figure business owners who are aspiring to be, they're high achievers. They've got big goals, and that can add a lot of pressure, especially if you're building it alongside family life and corporate life, because you want to be a high achiever in all the things. And so creating boundaries and really being intentional with your time was just such an important strategy in actually building the business so that I could leave, so that I could support him, which was another big piece of being a single mom. There's no partner to rely on for benefits. There's nobody else to support my son. Like, his father wasn't in the picture. So, it was on me. And so having a plan to support him and support myself was, something I really needed to take into account in leaving my 9 to 5.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've been there myself as a single mom, and it's the struggle is real. So much respect for all that you've gone through. And, it's a lot, and it's very heavy to be able to keep up with, everything every day and still, continue to make progress in your business and support your child, like so many different levels to it. So much respect for all that you've been able to accomplish. So that's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you so much for that. I think something I didn't say, which I was just such an important part also, is getting a coach. I think coaches, consultants, anyone in the online space who's building a business, that support is just so necessary. But whether you're single or not, that doesn't really matter, because you might have a really supportive partner, but they might not get it. They don't understand what it's like to actually have a business and run a business and prioritizing all the things in that way. So having support from the beginning, like as soon as I decided to launch my business, I started looking into getting some support in the form of a coach and team members as well. And that was a big piece of the puzzle for me, and has continued to be as my business grows, because it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle, as they say. So someone to see the things that you can't see in your business and reflect that back to you and keep you in a mindset of growth is just hands down a non-negotiable for anyone who wants to scale to this level.
For sure. Yeah. And you hit on a huge point there, but just that reflection is priceless, because we get so, heads down in what we're doing so often that we don't see everything around us or see where we're actually headed, right? Like we could be stuck in the tactical and not be able to look at the vision. And so, yeah, coaches are absolutely priceless. The right coaches are absolutely priceless to get you to where you want to be. So for sure. So let's talk about mindset for a minute, because I know that's your specialty, but what are the biggest, we'll say, blockers that you see people find, or the biggest ways that you help people overcome whatever it is they're struggling with?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a story and life experiences that shape their mindset. So that is not unique. We all come with that baggage, so to speak, and that can be a gift or it can be a burden. And you kind of get to choose what that's going to be. And so I say for my clients, and they will tell you that I am not a cheerleader. Having cheerleaders is great and important, but having a hype woman to reflect back to you what's true, that is the stuff that really pulls you through those challenging times. So the intimacy of one-on-one coaching, which I so enjoy, is the ability to really get to know that person, their patterns, their limiting beliefs, and why they are an expert, why they are great, why they should be visible, and pulling that out of them to reflect back to them what's actually true. Not just, hey, you can do it, I believe in you, but here's why what you believe may not be true. We're pulling out those things to say, like, why are you an expert? Tell me a story about something that you did in your niche, so that they can see, like, this is their own thought patterns, their patterns, their behaviors that, we all experience in entrepreneurship that's stopping them from either growth or taking the action or getting visible or whatever the block may be. And so that is why I love one-on-one business coaching and the mindset piece of it. But also, like, I love being a hype woman. Activator is like my number one strength and strength finder. So when someone comes to me and they say, I want a six-figure business, I'm like, sweet, are you ready to roll up your sleeves and do it? Because I'm not going to be your cheerleader, but I will be your number one hype woman. Let's get to work. If you're ready to do the work, the mindset work and the strategy, then this is going to happen. If you're committed to that goal, I will get you there. And so I think that is so much, I think a misconception about mindset is like just thinking positive all the time. And it's really a transformation of thoughts that are going to support you to take the actions to get to where you want to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, I think that oftentimes changes throughout the course of your journey, right? Like, so often we have different things that pop up, and often it's the same theme. If you haven't actually resolved that issue, that keeps rearing its head. But it's so powerful to have somebody that can kind of work that through with you and just help you really, see through the other side and not, just let it stop you in your tracks, which is really, really powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So time management was another thing you mentioned, but what are your biggest, we'll say, strategies or suggestions for people that feel like they're always chasing their tails, or, are stuck with the 24 hours a day that we all are?
Yeah, what I see most often is that it's not lack of time, it's using time intentionally to do the business building activities. And so, like, saying, like, you've got 2 hours to work on your business, but not necessarily assigning tasks to those 2 hours, creating simple checklists for your goals for the week, not just to post or to do a podcast, but what is doing that post or what is doing that podcast do for you to reach your goal? And so really creating goal-oriented tasks and really being focused on measuring what's working in your business so that you can create immediate goals. When we're starting out new or even kind of in that growth phase, I think so much emphasis is put on audience building and not enough on selling from the beginning. And you high achievers out there listening to this podcast are like, yes, 6-7 figures, I want this. In order to make that happen, you have to sell. And so, like, waiting for the right time, waiting for, having a certain amount of content out there or other benchmarks that we've made up in our mind that are supposed to matter are the things that are holding you back. I think selling immediately and consistently and using your time efficiently to reach your goals along the way. So they're going to change, as you said, at every stage of business. So depending on where you are, your goals will be more focused in on that stage of business. But regardless of where you're at, starting or you've been in months or years, selling has to be a goal for you every week if you're going to keep moving the needle forward. And there will be no greater, I think, momentum in your business or positive reinforcement to keep going than actually getting sales. So it is just the best way to, stay motivated and keep going is to actually make money in your business.
Yeah, for sure. And for the people that feel like they struggle with sales, oftentimes it comes down to our own insecurities or our own mindset blocks. Like, what do you see there? What do you recommend for people that just, they hate that part of their business?
Yeah, I think, well, getting to the root of why you hate it and, working through those thoughts, limiting beliefs, whatever might be coming up for you is important because, again, we all come with this. Like if you had bad sales experiences, like we all think about like walking into like a car dealership and buying a car and then like the guy coming up to you and like selling you something you don't want or need and it being a long, strenuous process. Like sales does not have to be that way. So shifting your perspective, crafting a sales process that really leans into your strengths, that's going to connect to your audience because there is not just one way to sell. And I think like those sales programs, that's where people feel frustrated or like having a script doesn't work because it's not uniquely you. It doesn't lean into your strengths. There's lots of different ways to sell. And so finding a strategy that works for you is going to be the thing that really supports you to feel good about sales. And then something I do with my clients is I watch their sales calls back. Like I ask them to record their discovery calls or their sales calls so that we can continue to improve on language or missed opportunities or body language that indicated something or the other, and really learning to like work through objections. There's so much I could talk about with sales, but these are some of the things I see very often with sales that stop people from being able to grow their business through those sales conversations.
Definitely. And to your point of objections, I mean, they always come up, right? And I
Yeah.
think people get pre-hung up in their brain that they're going to get objections, or like they're going to not want this or whatever. And that feels like rejection, not objections, right? And like we internalize that. So what do you suggest for people that are processing that or feel like they always get hung up or lose their confidence, as they continue through the process?
I think when it comes to sales calls, discovery calls, whatever you call them, whether it's a conversation in the DMs or an actual call or a Zoom, whatever it may be, go into it with a mindset of, regardless of whether it's a yes or a no, I'm super excited to learn about the outcome. Like I'm super excited to see what I can take away from this experience. This is either going to be a yes, which means I'm nailing my messaging and my marketing. I can learn more about like, how did this person come to find me so that I can make sure that I'm replicating the things that are working, really get to understand, are they my ideal clients? This indicates to me that there are certain parts of my process that are working that I want to lean more into. And if it's a no, amazing. Why was it a no? How did this person get into my funnel? Is there something going on with my marketing, my messaging that they are not an aligned client? Is there an opportunity for me to learn how to handle objections better? It's really just like solving for the next problem, solving that, and then continuing on to the next one. And so if you approach each conversation non-emotionally, letting go of worrying about whether it's a yes or no and being super excited to learn about this person and, in return, learn about how you're attracting people into your business, then either way, you are winning on this call. It's going to be super learning and educational for you and beneficial for them too, because whether it's yes or no, they're now more clear on either what's stopping them or now they have an opportunity to gain your support, which is amazing.
Absolutely. And I come from an IT world, so we're constantly testing, improving. And it's the same thing in marketing. Like we have to take the emotion out of it. It's not rejection. It's testing, improving, and learning from what's working to what you mentioned, what's not working. I love that. How did they get in my funnel if they're not a good fit? And there could be hidden objections underneath that we haven't quite uncovered because later that, often that comes later in the conversation. But I think the more we can be, and I'm personally very analytical, so the more we can be analytical with it, I think we can just learn from it and then it just improves our process all the way through.
Yep, I totally agree. I'm with you on the analytics.
Yes. It also helps remove the emotion from it if you're just looking at it from a what's working, what's not working. It just, to me, it just helps.
100% agree.
Yeah. And you mentioned boundaries earlier too. And I think that's a constant game is not the right word, but like a constant thing that we're always having to maneuver. What do you recommend for that as far as, all the balls that we're juggling in the air and just to feel more effective in what we're doing?
I know for some, this is going to sound a little woo, but it really is very practical to really go back to your why. Why did you start the business in the first place? Like, what is it that you're hoping to achieve once your business is successful? Because it can feel hard, no matter how strategic you want to be. There is emotional pull. You have family, you have friends, you have a job that you still care about. There's other things happening in life, parents that you're taking care of. And you're making a commitment to spend your time doing something other than those things. And so there's no way that there's not going to be an emotional pull there. And so creating those boundaries for a reason is going to be the thing that helps you stick with it. What is your why? What is the intention, the purpose of, putting these boundaries in place? It's not to do with them. You're not rejecting them. It doesn't mean anything about your relationship or how you care about them. It is you walking towards your goal, your future. And so removing that, again, like the mom guilt or the selfishness or those kinds of words that are not serving you or the people that you care about will support you through that. And that is tough, which is where coaching can really help and support, people who are struggling with those things. I would say, the support that I do in between with my clients is so significantly mindset, because we all work through those. And so having someone who understands, who's going to reflect back to you why you're doing this, as that reminder from a non-emotional way, right? Like I'm not involved with you. I'm not your partner. I'm not your parent. There's not going to be any guilt from me. I'm going to allow you to make the decision based on the facts that you've shared with me about why you want to do these things. And so that is, again, just where coaching can really come into play, because it is difficult to do it on your own and work through those objections, even though logically the things. This is why coaches have coaches. When you're having those mindset blocks or your own limiting beliefs are coming up, or you're feeling guilty or sad or whatever it may be because how you're spending your time. That's where you go to your coach and you bring up what's coming up for you. And they can put you back on a path of thinking in a way that's going to support you moving forward.
Absolutely. And that's so critical as we're navigating the world of business and personal life, right? Because it's always a combination of both. And the more we can feel in balance is not necessarily the right word, because it's a fluid thing, but the more we can feel at peace, we'll say, with whatever is happening in our worlds, the more effective we can be.
I totally agree. And listen, even as the singletons in the room, even dating becomes a piece of it, right? So if you have a partner, of course, time with them is going to be important. But even when you're single, time to actually go out and meet people or meet new friends, that is important too. So these boundaries and these discussions around mindset support when things do feel emotional and hard to stay in it with your business. I go through this everywhere I go, because I'm in Paris. I want to be out in the city and having a cafe au lait somewhere, but I have goals and I want to sustain my lifestyle and I'm still supporting my son. So I have to generate income and revenue. And so those boundaries for me are important. So nobody's immune to this. We all go through it. And so again, that's why I think it's just having support is non-negotiable, in my opinion, if you want to get to this level of business.
For sure. And, as we're navigating the world of business and when we're traveling around the world, it presents its own unique situations. But how do you stay connected to people, stay connected to friends? Business can be a very lonely world sometimes. And, I think about traveling the world and meeting new people on a constant basis. So what has worked for you and what do you recommend for people?
So my situation is a little bit unique. I know most people aren't traveling the world full-time solo, but if you are and you're listening, I book tours with people. Like I could do a lot of the things that I book online by myself. I could just buy a ticket to the Louvre or, buy a ticket to Versailles. But I like to do it in groups because then I'm connected with people. I'm having conversations. And I can't tell you how much business opportunity has come from booking tours. Because people are like, what, you're traveling full time? How are you doing this? And then it starts a whole conversation. But that's one way. And I'm also really intentional about staying in touch with my family on WhatsApp. WhatsApp is international. Everybody has WhatsApp, which is an app, if you're not familiar. It's just a text, voice, video app similar to, anything you would use with your regular smartphone. But it works internationally, and it's been a great way to stay in touch with friends and family. And I am intentional about it. Like if I haven't checked in a while, or if I haven't heard from them, I'm not going to wait for them to reach out to me if I'm feeling lonely. And I think that's a big part of it. It's like raising your hand and asking for help when you need help in your business. It's the same thing. If you're feeling lonely, don't sit in the loneliness, take action, like call a friend, send a message, send a DM. And I'm also I have a Facebook community. I know there's a lot of Facebook groups out there, but that's how I'm able to stay in touch with my community as well. And so I can post in there and send DMs and be in touch with people that are clients and non-clients, other people who are building a freedom-based business. And, again, just taking intentional time, not distractions from your workday, keeping those boundaries in place. But if it's 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, the time zone difference means that I can just send a DM or hop online and still be able to connect with someone in the world if I'm feeling lonely, which is just amazing. So yeah, just being mindful of how you're feeling and not waiting for someone else to fulfill or change your emotion, but taking action to really do it. Whether that's, going for a walk or going to a bar and just starting up a conversation with people, joining a tour, there's free walking tours all over the world. Another great way to meet people, or just staying in touch with friends and family, just like you would check any other box off of your to-do list. If you know that emotion of loneliness or missing home or family is coming up for you, add it to your checklist as something to do.
That's amazing and very good advice. I love that. So I have to ask, of all the places that you've traveled in the world, which are your favorites other than Paris right now?
So many places. Oh my gosh. I've literally been to so many places. And, as I said, I was a very young single teen mom. So I didn't grow up traveling. I didn't start traveling full time until, I was 40. 40 is when I started traveling full time. And so everywhere that I've gone has been magical for me. It's just wow, life is so different here. The places, the architecture, the culture, the food has been truly life-changing for me. But of course, I think we all have our favorites. It is hard to narrow it down. Italy for me, I just absolutely love going back to Florence. That's my next stop after Paris for the second time. Absolutely love everything about Italy. Ireland was another of my favorites. I really enjoyed just everything about Irish culture. It's so beautiful. Loved the people, loved everything. And Australia, I would say those are some of my top places, but I love Thailand. I love Bali. They're all over Europe, but London, there's really only been one place that I was I'm glad that I went, but it could have been a 3-day trip and not a month's trip. But everywhere else in the world, I've just loved.
That's absolutely amazing. I can't blame you. So in all that you've traveled, you've accomplished in your business, your personal life, how do you define success? What does that look like to you?
I think success is doing work that allows you to live fully aligned to your values. If you haven't taken some time to really get clear on what your values are, that's always a good place to start because, money can come and go. Success is fleeting. A success is more often an emotion that we have determined this is success today, but is it going to be success tomorrow? So I think for me, success is doing work that allows you to truly be aligned to your values, because it doesn't tie into money. It's more so into the joy of living in a way that feels good for you. And so values is something really important to me. I know them. I have 6 core values, and I can roll them off the tongue very quickly because I live and breathe them every day. Making the decision to start the business, making every decision that I have made in my life is easy when you know your values, because you can't make a wrong or bad decision if it's totally aligned to how you want to live your life.
Do you mind sharing your values? Is that something?
Sure. Freedom is my number 1 value. I don't think that would come as a surprise to anyone. But freedom, respect, excitement, courage, success, and happiness. Those are my values, my core values.
I love that. Absolutely. Yeah. And I couldn't agree more, because it's something that we do. We live and breathe every single day. So that's amazing. So of course, what can people expect from you next? You've got lots in the works.
I do. Obviously, I love my coaching business. I coach one-on-one with clients, strictly one-on-one work. I do that in a lot of different ways, including inviting clients to come travel with me. So if you're looking for a great business expense to travel and you're looking to get coaching, that is something that I love that I do, that I think is really unique in the coaching space, is inviting clients to have a luxury travel experience with me. So the next round of that will be coming up here in a couple of months, but I am also starting a second business that is loosely tied into that as well. So the plans are still in the works for launching that. I'm working diligently in the background while trying to balance all of the travels and all of the things that we've been talking about. But I'm very, very excited about it. So lots to come on the horizon. But mostly I'm just really leaning into this incredible season of travel. Really experiencing these places. And I stay, like I said, generally for about a month in each place, so that I don't have to feel like a tourist. I don't have to be rushed into doing all the things, because I am building a business and, supporting clients while I am traveling. And this has been like the perfect amount of time to enjoy the city, kind of become like a little bit of a regular in some places, because I'm here for a month, and really get to know the place and do some touristy things while also doing what I love in my coaching business as well.
I love that. And I may have to take you up on that and meet you in Italy. And
Yes. Oh, you should. I have a client meeting me there next in a few weeks, and I'm so excited. And I will be going back. Absolutely. Because it's, one of my favorite countries in the world.
Absolutely. I will see you there.
Yes.
So I'm curious, if you had the attention of the whole world for 5 minutes, what would you tell them?
Oh, that is such a big question, because there's so many things that I would love to say. But I think what really speaks to my heart, having kind of been through a challenging journey, I think we all go through challenging journeys, of course, but being such a young single teen mom, not knowing how I was going to keep a roof over my head, let alone, build 2 successful businesses. I think what I would want to say is, your circumstances right now don't have to be your circumstances in the future. You get to make that choice. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, but you do have a choice to change your circumstances. And so get clear on what your values are and run at them. Don't walk, don't sidestep, run at living your values, whatever that is for you. That was having a freedom-based lifestyle is why I chose to do, this business that I can run fully online, that allows me to work from anywhere. I ran at that. I became a digital nomad before I was even ready to leave my job, because I was so in the mindset of having the lifestyle that I wanted. And that's what it takes, I think, to grow a 6-figure, 7-figure business, if that's your goal, or to travel full time. Whatever your goals are. Maybe you just want to be home with your kids. That was certainly the goal for me with my first business. So figure out what your values are. What is most important for you to feel like you're in alignment with your life, and run at it, knowing that you get the choice to change your circumstances. Today is only today. Tomorrow gets to be different. but you have to do the work to make it different. Make the choice and just run at it, because tomorrow isn't promised. So live your best life today.
That's amazing advice. And I second it and believe wholeheartedly. So that's amazing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. So how can listeners support you in your work? How can they know where the heck you are and live vicariously through your travels, more than likely, or meet you there?
Yes. Would love to meet you anywhere in the world. So if you're listening, send me a DM and let me know if you want to come meet me out in the world. You can find me on Instagram at stephanieritz.co, just my name.co. That is my website as well, if you wanted to look more into some of my programs, including my one-on-one coaching and my travel intensives, which are amazing as well. And I do have that Facebook group that I mentioned. It's a new group and it has literally just filled my cup. So anybody who's saying that Facebook is dead is just wrong. Facebook is alive and well. And I have a beautiful community of people who are also building a freedom-based business. So that is the name of our community, the Freedom-Based Business Builders. Would love to invite you in and experience both travel and business and working from anywhere in the world, whether you're home or want to take a vacation and keep the business going. And that's what we're all about inside that community. So those are the places that you can best find me.
I love it. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for being on today. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation, Julie. Thanks so much.
As did I. And if you did as well and you found value in this episode, please do share it. That's how people find us. And you can find me at sevenfigurebuilder.com. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.